Ladies and gentlemen, Season 3 of Black Ops Cold War and Warzone has been insane already, but there's one thing that we have still not covered on the channel. On Friday, we took a deep dive into the full story of Warzone, where it went from beginning to end, but now we need to look at where the story is going moving forward. This season, Season 3, we got the biggest update to the story that we have got so far. This is the tie-in between Black Ops Cold War and Warzone that we have been waiting for from the start. Adler is now in Verdansk, and on top of that, we have a tie-in to Mount Yamantau, and we know what is going to happen moving forward in the future. This is the biggest update to the story that we have had since the launch of the game, and it is huge. So in this video, we're going to take a look at the cutscene, and then I'm going to break it down and discuss and tell you exactly where the story is going moving forward. But first, I'm going to show you the cutscene. You guys can skip it if you want to, and I'll leave a timestamp down in the description. But this is what's going on in Season 3.
Come in. Channel is secure.
You have the package?
We have the numbers data.
Complete your mission.
Hard copy.
Here. Moscow will blame the Americans for Yamantau, and our work with Adler is almost done. We can proceed. What Dragovich only managed with a single subject, we shall do to entire nations. What we do in Verdansk will pave the way for the rise of Greater Russia.
So first things first, before we talk about what this cutscene means, we first have to understand how we got here. So let me just go over it very, very quickly. So January 20th, 1984, as far as the story goes, is when we are introduced to Stitch. Stitch is a very high up Perseus agent, and he is the one specifically trying to get revenge on Adler. Adler was the one that took Stitch captive on Rebirth Island, and Stitch's idea is to capture him at the mall by using Nova 6 gas as a trap. So at this point, Adler, Woods, and a couple other operatives head over to the mall, and as it turns out, it is a trap. At this point, Adler is captured, and we don't know where he is taken. Now, at this point, Season 2 picks up on April 19th, 1984. This is where Woods and his crew go into Laos searching for Adler because this is where they believe that he had been taken. And he briefly was, but Naga is the new operative that we are introduced to. This is the second Perseus agent that we are introduced to, and as far as he goes, it seems as though he is working under Stitch, but Stitch tells him to make sure Adler is moving to Verdansk and also make it look like they are worried about the Nova 6 supply line. By the end of Season 2, we get a big realization. When they find out where Adler has been held captive, they realize that first of all, he has been brainwashed. You see them sticking a needle into his neck, and you can only assume that it's something very similar to the MK Ultra project from the campaign. But on top of this, they also find out that the Nova gas was actually just a big bluff, something to actually use to trap Adler. And this brings us to Season 3. So this cutscene takes place on June the 2nd, 1984, about 5 to 6 months after Adler has been taken. So he's been gone for a really long time at this point. Now, it's also important to mention, you may be wondering, why does it take place in June? It seems as though that's when Season 3 is going to be coming to a close and when we will be getting our next cutscene, if that makes sense. Now, as far as what this cutscene is all about, first of all, we have our character Wraith. She is, I have to say, one of the most badass characters that we have seen so far. I really like her as a character. But then there's also the second character, the one that comes through the shadows. This character is known as Roman Gray, aka Knight as a code name. And as you can see, he's pretty mysterious as he comes through the shadows and takes people out. But you may be wondering, why are these characters in Mount Yamantau? And there's a very specific reason for this. As you can see, Wraith grabs one of the badges off of the soldiers and goes inside of the base. Once she's inside, she grabs 2 reels of film, and you may be wondering what these are for. Well, to understand this, you first have to go back to Black Ops 1, because this is the first time that we saw Mount Yamantau in the mission WMD. And at this time, we believed this area to be a doomsday bunker where the Soviets were essentially weaponizing some Nova 6 gas. But the thing is when Hudson and Weaver went to this area in Black Ops 1, that's not what they found. They actually found more of a research facility, and they found that Rebirth Island is where they were weaponizing the Nova 6 gas. And as we find out, that is further confirmed within this cutscene in the conversation that Wraith has with Stitch next.
Wraith to Stitch. Come in. Channel is secure.
You have the package.
We have the numbers data.
Complete your mission.
Hard copy.
So there's a couple of big things to take away there. First of all, we see Stitch in Verdansk holding Adler captive, and he's hooked up to a heart rate monitor, and very clearly this brainwashing that was going on in Laos is continuing here. But after this, very clearly we hear Wraith say to Stitch that she has secured the numbers package. Now, you may not know what this is if you didn't play Black Ops 1. And you may not even believe me, but I do have proof of it. The numbers package is specifically talking about the experiments that Dragovich ran on Alex Mason back in Black Ops 1 to create a sleeper agent inside of him and to have the numbers inside of his head. Now you may be thinking, well, numbers package can mean a lot of things. The data can be for many different things, not just this one particular circumstance. However, there is proof of it. If you go back and look at the cutscene when Wraith grabs those videos off of the wall, read what they say on them. So if we zoom in on these tapes, these are the ones that Wraith grabs off the wall. It says Dragovich, obviously talking about Nikita Dragovich, and then the second word is in Russian, and when you translate it, it translates to Dragovich programming. Now, if you know anything about the Black Ops universe, you'll know that the person who put the numbers inside of Alex Mason's head was Nikita Dragovich inside of Vorkuta prison. So this is the same sort of programming that was done in that game. But the question is, why does Wraith want it, and why does Stitch want it? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Have a listen to what Stitch says at the end.
Moscow will blame the Americans for Yamantau, and our work with Adler is almost done. We can proceed. What Dragovich only managed with a single subject, we shall do to entire nations. What we do in Verdansk will pave the way for the rise of Greater Russia.
So first of all, the big thing that he says there is that the reason why they blow up Mount Yamantau is because they want it to look like the Americans did it so that the Russians get mad at them and it causes a struggle between the two. And I'm sure you've already seen it, but if you go into Warzone right now and you look off into the distance, you can actually see that explosion coming from Mount Yamantau. Now, you guys probably know that the geography in real life doesn't really make sense for that, but what they have built in this universe, I think it looks pretty damn cool. But that's not the biggest thing. You may not have caught it there, but they say that they are almost done with Adler. And we know based off of the Laos scene that they are trying to brainwash him. And assumably this numbers sequence that they now have is going to help them. But he also goes on to say, what Dragovich did with one subject, we will do with entire nations, which essentially sets up the story moving forward. We now know that they are not trying to work with Nova 6 gas and kill people, but rather they are trying to literally mind control them with Dragovich's numbers project. And that is why they took it out of Yamantau, is because they want to now use it on nations. Now, how that is going to work, we don't know, but what he says is that it's going to start with whatever is going on in Verdansk. And that is how the entire story is linking together. Now, we have Adler brainwashed, we have this numbers project moving forward, and now, as the good guys, we have to try to stop Perseus and stop Stitch from executing this numbers project. That is where the story is going. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what the next step in the story is and how Stitch wants to execute this numbers program. But all in all, we're getting more and more bad guys added to the mix as we have Woods and whatever is happening with Adler trying to fight against them. It's going to be a really interesting to see how it turns out, and season 4 should just be the next level beyond this. So as we get more information, as we get more story, as always, I will keep you guys updated. But this is what we've got so far. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, all that good jazz. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, peace out.
We are reaching for the stars, but we're made